The gentle, rhythmic click of the front door latch used to signal safety, the comfort of routine. Now it was the opening note of a nightly performance I could barely stand to watch. I lay in bed on my side, feigning sleep, my fists curled tightly beneath the blanket. The faint drift of cologne seeped into the room. Sandalwood brightened with something citrus, and it felt like the scent itself carried the truth I had been dreading. Her shoes tapped lightly against the hardwood, careful, deliberate, yet still catching on that familiar floorboard that groaned with betrayal. I could trace the arc of our downfall from here. Once we were close, her gaze meeting mine with warmth. Now she looked past me, her attention glued to the glow of her phone. She'd laugh at messages she never shared, vanish into private calls, and wrap herself in a fog of distraction she never bothered to explain. I told myself it was her job, long hours in marketing, the constant pressure, but my instincts stayed restless. Then came the later nights, the vague excuses, the muffled conversations she thought I couldn't hear. Tonight played out like so many before it. The whisper of her heels landing on the floor, the faint rustle of fabric as she slipped her dress off, the weight of the mattress dipping under her as she settled beside me, releasing a long, soft sigh. I waited, letting my pulse pound in my ears until her breathing steadied into shallow rhythm of sleep. Then I spoke, my voice low and dry. "How is he?" The words cut through the dark. Her body went rigid. There was a sharp intake of breath before she rolled toward me, the dim street light casting a pale wash across her face. She looked drained, startled, as if caught naked in a spotlight. "David, She began, barely above a whisper. The name hit with the force of a hammer. David, the colleague who kept her at the office late. Every fragment of suspicion suddenly aligned into one clear, nauseating picture. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't plead, just a cold, steady reply. Don't insult me with lies." Her eyes filled instantly, tears streaming as she stumbled through apologies, excuses, and promises. I heard her, but it was like listening to a recording, predictable, rehearsed. I had already played this scene in my head 100 times. The rage I'd imagined never came. Instead, something quieter, sharper took hold. Resolve. The next morning, I acted as though the night before hadn't happened. I made breakfast. I kissed her goodbye. But while she sat in her morning meetings, I was setting a different course in motion. I called a private investigator, a trusted contact, and laid everything out. He moved quickly. Within a week, I had everything. Photos of them together, videos, time-stamped records, even text threads. I had more proof than I needed, each piece stoking the slow fire inside me. But my aim wasn't only her. David had known exactly who I was. He'd seen our wedding photos on her desk, the ring on her finger, and had chosen to ignore it all. That arrogance would cost him. David's career was soaring. Sharp suit, polished smile, an executive on the rise. His reputation was his fortress. So I struck there. I gathered every damning scrap of evidence and sent it anonymously to his CEO, his wife, his parents, and even his church. The detonation was swift. He lost his job. His marriage collapsed. His standing in the community rotted overnight. He became the man everyone avoided, the cautionary tale whispered about over coffee. Clara didn't escape the fallout. Her workplace buzzed with it, her every step shadowed by hushed gossip and sideways glances. She went from admired to pitted in weeks, her name tied to shame she couldn't outrun. When I confronted her with the evidence, I didn't shout. I didn't curse. I simply laid it out in front of her, letting the silence speak louder than I ever could. She admitted everything, begged for a second chance, promised change, but the foundation was gone, cracked beyond repair. I filed for divorce. Months later, it was finalized. This wasn't about causing pain. It was about reclaiming my balance, showing them that choices have weight. The nights that followed weren't easy. Some were sleepless. Some were heavy with the ache of what I thought we had. But beneath the hurt, a strange clarity settled in. I had faced the ugliest truth and come out the other side with my self-respect intact. I sold the house, dismantling the remnants of our life together, and began again. I poured myself into work, into friendships, into rediscovering who I was outside of betrayal. The scars stayed, but they became proof of survival, not chains holding me down. Months later, I saw her. Clara stood in line at a coffee shop. Thinner, paler, her energy hollowed out. Our eyes met for the briefest moment. Hers clouded with a shame she couldn't hide. I gave a short nod, nothing more, and turned away. No bitterness, no pity, just the stillness of someone who had burned through all the anger and come out clean on the other side. The fire had gone out long ago, leaving only the steady glow of indifference. I had moved forward. I had lived through it. And that quiet, unshakable freedom was the truest revenge I could have imagined.